Hi, folks. I hope you are all doing well. I hope you had a good long break and you had a couple days off to enjoy your time as we get back into classes. I want to spend some time in recapping the last few chapters and giving you some updates. So we're going to revamp the class. There's some big changes happening. For one, I'm going to have more face-to-face contact. We want to have a person in the classroom with you. So Dr. Chung has volunteered to be that person. It's great because you'll actually see her in the classroom, and all of the classroom attendance points are up on the course calendar. So you'll see an updated syllabus with clarification of assignments. You'll see clarification of what's expected of you. And then obviously you'll also see an updated course schedule to really accommodate all of our students to make the best success for you. I also want to bring up a quick housekeeping. How are your tweeting going? I'm seeing many of you online, and that's wonderful to see you all there. I want to give you a quick heads up that you still have 2 events to attend. You should be live tweeting at these events, either Wonders of the World and Eastern University Athletic, of whatever team you choose. If you have not tweeted yet, you should make sure you tweet me first so I can know your handle, and then I'll add you to our group list, and that way you can see all the other messages that people are also creating. So let's look at the housekeeping things. The course is going to look very different coming up, which is very exciting. And let's go ahead and do a recap of the first few chapters. So Lipschitz chapter 1 opens with a general history of how social media changed, my life, because I remember a time without social media. It said the dissemination of new ideas dramatically changed our lives. We can only understand what we access and see. If we can only access the local library and read maybe 40 books a month, that will be our knowledge. Now, our accessibility means we have immeasurably increased our understanding. For example, say you heard of a foreign land, maybe somewhere off, far off, say, is Mexico. Most likely, you could not only envision Mexico based on how your friend described it. Your friend is saying, okay, I went to the beaches, here's what they were like, I ate some tacos, and here's what they tasted like, and I saw these beautiful colors. That's all your experience used to be of Mexico. Now, you can simply type in Mexico in any search bar, and you can see thousands of images. You can look at what is currently happening in the various cities of Mexico. In fact, you probably have a friend down there. And so it's really changed our way of understanding. It's remarkable. Social media didn't necessarily have patterns when it began, so there seems to be a level of organized chaos in how people used to use it. So our online communication now has a lot more roles and understanding of what is your understanding of media, hence media literacy. We understand media is more complex, and so chapter 1 explains many vocab terms. If you are confused by any point, you should go back and make sure that you understand all of these terms. Like if you don't know what a CRM or a click-through rate, you should check out the glossary in the back of the book. That will also be a good place for you to at least get caught up a little bit. Here are some great quotes I found from chapter 1. I liked, a practitioner of journalism, public relations, advertising, or marketing needs to be understood how to effectively operate within social media. There is no single way because social media communication can be political and cultural. We will go over the best practices that the textbook gives examples of, and in fact, they give some successes and fails. And that's not to say that these are the only ways to interact in social media. Rather, social media welcomes new ideas. I mean, social media welcomes interactions and songs and new material. Do you remember the first time you were searching for the perfect birthday card? You're walking down the aisle and you see this new card and you open up the first page, and all of a sudden it's saying, this moment in my life changed my experience with cards. I remember thinking about the magic and the wonder of how did they get that song and this card? That is amazing. And previously, I bet the card gurus and the old card chums told the card dreamers, no, a singing card is not and nor will it ever be possible. That's how I think of social media. I know, it's a very far off metaphor, but work with me here. I think about how accessible social media is. If I were trying to reinvent a card and make it singing, I'd have to go through months of product testing and shipping to the store and cost analysis and analytics and to see if people even like it by the time they get to the register. And I think that social media just works out so differently. It can be far more innovative and very quick. So I like how there talks about there's not a single way for social media to be effective, but rather it really welcomes innovative ideas. Another quote I really like talks about, quote, media users select content and use it with expectations in mind. Satisfaction and expectation drive future media consumption. Media runs the risk of losing followers if they fail consistently to reward readers, listeners, and viewers. We are not simply consumers of media. We don't simply eat all of the things that we read, and we choose what we want. As consumers, we choose where we find out weather. We choose how to get the top headlines. We choose which certain songs to buy from albums or artists. Again, going back to how social media is different from my day, if you ever wanted to hear Amy Grant's Baby Baby on the radio, you'd have to sit and wait for hours and hours and hours of other songs that were not Amy Grant's Baby Baby. If you wanted to learn about the traffic on TV, you'd have to wait until the segmented minutes go on the news. For instance, our traffic is on the 8th. So you have to wait every 8 minutes to hear about the traffic again. Consumers have this expectation of how to find information, how to consume, how to interact. If a certain platform isn't rewarding consumers for their choice, then they can choose another source. It's very individualized. I should be rewarded for going on, say I'm going on Gap.com and I'm looking for a new shirt of some sort. I should be rewarded that Gap appreciates me as a consumer choosing Gap and not just going to any other store. And the second to last quote from chapter 1, I really like this one. The nature of communication on Twitter is that online communication also generates new social networks, which can be observed in real time, but also visualized using data analysis tools. This idea explains how if you are doing job marketing or you're going in the job market at some point, each company will use different data analysis tools. You'll be trained on their specific type of analytics and metrics. I'm in education. In 2 years, I piloted this program to create this online textbook and this online platform. And the publishers of the textbook had this own metric system that I did not understand. So I spent some time understanding how to run the numbers to make sure that students were learning to the best of their abilities. You will find that each company chooses their own ideas. They have their own programs, and the in real time is the most important part of this quote. And lastly, social media refers to online communities that are participatory, conversational, and fluid. These communities enable members to produce, publish, control, critique, rank, and interact with online content. The term can encompass any online community that promotes the individual while also emphasizing an individual's relationship to the community. The rights of the members to collaborate and be heard within a protective space, which welcomes the opinions and contributions of participants. Okay, so here's what I think of. I think of how San Diego, again, I'm biased to San Diego, but San Diego was once put on the map because many people in the comic industry got together and wanted to talk about comics. And that is a very, well, it used to be a very obscure part of real life. I think of many other communities in which they go online, you can meet each other, and you can have this level of community they would never normally have in real life because they're such special, individualized hobbies or interests or passions. If you have not seen the documentary on bronies, I highly encourage this movie when you have some downtime. Okay, so this is what chapter 1 looks like. Let's start getting to what we're thinking of. If we're all on our phones, here are some best practices that the book talks about. There's 3 best blogging. For your blogger, here are some 3 tips. 1, you need to be regularly posting. You need to be writing effective headlines. You need to be participating in the community of other bloggers to both encourage to share your own content and to respond to others. So that's just a general best practice for blogging. Let's move on to chapter 3. Okay, for chapter 3, here are some basic functions of journalism and how they have changed. For one, there's more availability. There's less gatekeeping. There's less people that are monitoring what is said and what is not said. So then we also have more voices. If there's less people gatekeeping, we have more people able to share whatever their material. Problem with this is that there can be less fact checking. We have seen examples of this all over the various infiltrations from Russia or from tons of other hacking sources. That's great because now we have more avenues of news. It's not necessarily cable news, but now it can also be printed and radio in terms of their form. For instance, we use engagement differently too. The textbook referred to the news person using engagement very differently, and how does that look now that we are expected for the readers or consumers of journalism to be engaged? So I remember a time I was very little, I was in elementary school, when Cecily Tynan, the weather person, came to our school and gave us a speech, and I thought that was the coolest thing because she came in slippers because we didn't normally see her feet, and she was bragging about that. And I had this really specific experience with the local weather person. That was 1980, whatever it is. But now you can simply go on Cecily's Twitter page and you can look at all the followers. I mean, look at how many followers she has. She has thousands. And the way that she's using her news to engage audiences is real time and looks very different. Because now she can share more aspects of her life besides specifically the weather, which is what she would talk about for maybe 4 minutes at the top of the hour. You can also find her colleagues. Look at all those other folks. Adam Joseph, I know, is another weather person, and then all the other local action ABC news crew. So this is another way of saying, okay, here's your level of engagement, both your personal brand and your public brand, and have them be engaging with our journalism. Here's some ideas. Here's the top points of journalism. It should be informative, it should analyze, it should interpret, and should explain whatever is happening. It should also be investigative, it should create public conversation, it should help generate social empathy and encourage accountability. I'll move on to chapter 5. Chapter 5, I'll start with the highlight quote. Quote says, online advertising becomes more about conversations, connections, and shared control, and less about passive consumption of packaged content. I like this quote because it talks about how marketing takes one idea, one central idea, and distributes it out. And it's not about the people actually eating it, but it's rather about the consumption of it. So here's how I look at the two between marketing and PR. On the left, we have PR. Their role and responsibility is to make sure that the end user, the person, is enjoying whatever is consumable, whether it be a meme on Twitter or a campaign of some new hashtag. On the right-hand side, that's where you have marketing. That's where you're saying, I need to know about my audiences to make one central idea and distribute it to others. So they function very differently. I think of the marketing as, I don't know about y'all, but I have an Aunt Linda, and whenever I see Aunt Linda at holidays, she's usually giving me something to eat the very first thing when I see her. I walk in the door and she's holding food. Jules, you have to try this. Here's my new lemon biscuit, biscotti, whatever it might be. And it's great. But then my Uncle John comes behind her a little bit after the party and says, what do you think about Aunt Linda's lemon biscuit bar? And he is more the PR person. He takes the time to say, was that good? What do you think? And Aunt Linda is the mass distributor of lemon bars, in this case, marketing. Here's some tips for strategic planning. You need to be doing these 5 points. You need to be aware that your consumer will spend time researching. Mobile research starts with a search. When users look before they buy, location matters. Purchase immediacy is key. I have a friend at Google that solely spends time on his team to make sure that your click-through between getting your first product and then getting to the checkout bar is within a certain amount of time. And then lastly, your mobile influences purchases across all channels, so be more likely to buy other things in store or in real life. I've also put up some links from the Chapter 5 Successes and Failures on Brightspace. You can go ahead and check those out. There's a couple of funny campaigns. One of them talks about this confusing campaign, although very novel, where they created user content from Twitter to market the pretzel burger that was Wendy's. So go ahead and check that out. You might enjoy it. As I wrap up, here are some things to be expecting from Chapter 2 and Chapter 6. Chapter 2, there is interesting parts talking about memes and how they're understood as cultural information that passes along from person to person, yet gradually scales into a shared social phenomenon. They also reproduce by various imitations, and they're interesting because you can infuse many ideas and they compete. So here are some of my personal favorite memes. We have on the left, we have Ryan Gosling with the Hey Girl memes. We have the reposts everywhere, and then we have the dinosaur philosopher. And these all point out that they are effective and successful memes because they are then able to be replicated in the competition to make them funnier and to make the material more ironic. Can be seen in tons more examples. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap it up here. I hope you have it will be your good day tomorrow, which is mine tonight, which is your tomorrow. So Wednesday, you should be watching this. And then Thursday, don't forget you're going to the classroom with whatever laptop or device. And then Dr. Dung will give you more instruction about how to handle the next activity. Don't be a stranger on Twitter if you want to go ahead and tweet me if you have questions. I will also be online. I hope you all have a great day.